Guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's replay, well, this one is going to be outright filthy. I'm playing in the Tier 9 Soviet destroyer, the Udaloi, and I'm divisioned up with my buddies Puddin, 597, he's in his Tier 10 German battleship, the Udaloi, and ElasticSpyder, and he's in his Tier 10 American destroyer, the Gearing, and we're playing some domination here on the map Shatter. So, we have featured quite a bit of Udaloi gameplay here on our channel. It is a very good Tier 9 Soviet destroyer, and it's one that, in the right hands, can do some pretty ridiculous stuff. And I suppose then, with that being said, that for the purposes of this video, well, it was in the perfect pair of hands, because this is the new North American server damage record in this Tier 9 beast. I'm not going to disclose the amount of damage, of course, here at the beginning of the game, but just take a look at this beautiful ship. This thing is downright terrifying when it's captained by a guy or girl that knows exactly how to get the most out of this ship. And basically the Udaloi is almost a light cruiser. It has detectability range of about 8 kilometers, which that's pretty bad for a destroyer. But what makes it so good are the guns on these things. You get 6 of those very good 130 millimeter guns ranged in 2 turrets, 2 turrets at the front and a super firing pair and 1 at the rear. And the big thing about this ship over the Tashkent, the Tier 8 Soviet destroyer, is the fact that you can get the reload down quite a bit more. I believe the Tashkent has a reload of about 4.2 seconds. However, with the Udaloi, since it's a Tier 9 ship, you can get that third equipment slot that allows you to reduce the reload on this thing. So you can get it to a sub 4-second reload. And what this means is that this ship will slowly but steadily be able to put out an even better amount of damage than the Tashkent can. And it also has better AA, better concealment, and also something that you might not find too especially useful on your Soviet DDs, but it is on this ship, is the torpedoes. You get the same amount as a Shimakaze, and it's arranged like a Mahan. You have 1 on the starboard side, 1 on the port side, and 1 along the middle. So you can get a full broadside of 10 torpedoes going, and then if you swing your ship around, you can get all 15 in the water at the same time. So this ship has a lot of tools for being able to deal some damage, and oh, these poor battleships that are coming over here, they have no idea what's in store for them. So here at the beginning of the game, there's an Iowa, there's a Kursk, the Baltimore, there's a Mogami. We're also going to have a Yamato come over here, and a Bismarck, a Tirpitz as well. There's going to be just a whole crap load of enemy ships that will be pushing over here. And I have my buddies in support with me, obviously Spider and Puddin. We also have a couple other battleships and another cruiser coming up here as well, so we're certainly going to try and take Objective Alpha. So at this point, I decide not to get on the cap, and I'm just going to kite away and utilize the extremely good range on the ship. You actually have a better range on this one than you do with the Tier 10 Soviet destroyer, the Habarovsk. This, with AFT and BFT, can get its firing range out to around 14.5 kilometers, which is about a kilometer better than the Habarovsk, and it's the best Soviet destroyer in that regard for the range. And because you have shells that fly at over 900 meters a second, hitting targets at very long range is, well, quite frankly, not that difficult whatsoever. So at this point, myself being a distraction, putting the Baltimore out of the way for A, and also turning the Mogami away as well, Spider was able to capture the base with a full cap, which is always good stuff. Now, there is another destroyer over here because I have since stopped shooting for quite some time, and with my 8-kilometer detectability, I do get detected right here really quickly, and I think it's one of the enemy destroyers that's over here, so I'm not going to continue to stay on that course. I'm just going to move off to this side of the map on the 2 line. And I'm going to try to greet the enemy battleships that are coming. You can see the majority of my team over here is all pushing in right behind me. That's always a really good feeling, and because of that, I feel extremely comfortable of pushing around this part of the island, around this headland here, and seeing what I can do. Now, take a look at the timer right now. 16:33 is when I get detected coming around the islands right here as I pop my smoke, and I begin to shoot my first shells at these enemy battleships. Again, take note, 16:33. So I got about 20 seconds left here on the torpedoes on my starboard side, so I'm going to start getting some long range, or not long range, but some high explosive spam at these enemy battleships. Now, I do run a 3x4 build on this Udaloi, which means you have the survivability expert, you have AFT, and you have demolition expert. This is a build that was championed quite a lot before patch 0.6 came out just recently. However, I still run the 3x4 build on the ship because you get the benefit of their extremely long range fire, you get the benefit of more hit points, which is always a nice thing, and if you stake at range, you can keep those hit points for a long time, and then of course having Demolition Expert to get that fire chance up to around, I think, 12 or 13%, which for a destroyer is exceptionally good, as I set my second fire there. One of them is burning on the Iowa, and the other one is burning on the Currywurst. Now, you can see here that I'm launching my third set of torpedoes off, so I do have all 15 fish in the water at the same time. Unfortunately, the dispersion on those torpedoes is a little crappy, and that Iowa is going to escape, taking some to the bow. But he's going to continue to let the fire burn, already up to 28,000 points of damage. 2 battleships are burning. Very good stuff. The enemy gearing was the destroyer that was spotting me as I was over near Alpha, which has since moved in the middle to Alpha. But unfortunately for him, he's got to deal with all my buddies that are off to my starboard side. And he is going to die here real soon, which he just does from Spyder. So very good start here to the game for my buddy. Continue to shoot more shells here, and I'm just choosing between each battleship, and the Currywurst did use his damage control, and unfortunately that was just long enough ago where when my torpedo slams home I get 14,000 damage and then set a fire. So he's not only got the fire to deal with, but he's also got the flooding as well, so his hit points are certainly going to get taken away here quite fast. And I continue to spam my high explosive at him because he only has 1 fire, and I'm trying to get the rear part of his superstructure burning as well, or the rear end of the ship too. He does decide to not shoot at me, luckily, and he only leaves his secondaries to boot, so I am taking some hits here, but again, because I have the hit points, it's not too bad, as Spyder gets a nice solid torpedo salvo in and takes the kill on the Currywurst, his second kill of the game. Very nice torpedo salvo there indeed. So all of a sudden, in just over 2 minutes worth of time, almost up to 100,000 points of damage here in this little short go-around here with the smoke, and then as I moved back around, and right as I'm about to come around the headland here and get more shots on the Iowa, the enemy Tirpitz appears as well. So I'm going to shift my fire to both of those ships yet again, as I got some long-range shots in on the Yamato, which I do manage to set a fire, and now I'm shooting here at the Tirpitz. Now, I do make my one really big mistake of the game here. I wasn't paying attention to the Iowa, and I figured, at least, that he'd shoot at the Amagi that was right in front of him, but instead he decides to make the smart play and take about 7,000 of my hit points off. I already pick up the Witherer here just over 6 minutes into the game, 108,000 points of damage. I do have the fire raging still on the Iowa and on the Tirpitz, so at this point I pop my smoke as I start to go in reverse. I knew that I would have enough time to get into the smoke by the time the Iowa reloaded, whether he had the rate of fire buff or not, so now I'm going to continue to shoot more shells here at the Tirpitz. I now blind fire my torpedoes to where I think the Iowa is at. No way he's going to be able to dodge all of them yet again. I switch back to high explosive here as the Tirpitz used his damage control, so now I'm looking to get more stuff raging on him, and I do. And once again, we're just going to see here, I'm just going to sit in the smoke, and I'm going to utilize my faster rate of fire and just absolutely pummel these guys into submission. And there is nothing that these battleships can do. The Tirpitz certainly does not have the hydroacoustic that the Bismarck does, and the Iowa is not in Missouri, so it doesn't have radar. So I'm completely taking advantage of these 2 battleships. Now I switch my fire back here to the Iowa. I have 2 fires raging on the enemy Tirpitz as my torpedoes, at least one of them looks okay. Looking to get yet another fire here on this enemy Iowa. More shells falling in. I will manage to hit 1 torpedo right on the bow, do about 10,000 points of damage, and cause the flooding. So he's going to immediately use his damage control, set a fire, and he does not have too many hit points left. So now at this point, I'm going to start to move forward very slowly, and I am going to turn back around. So in 2 passes over here, 1633 was when I told you to start looking at the damage counter, and I was at like 5,000. I'm now up to 162 with a Witherer. So a Witherer in about 6 minutes and 20 seconds worth of game time, and from when I got over here and started dealing the damage, about 3.5 minutes worth of game time. Just absolutely ridiculous. That's the fastest Witherer I've ever had in any ship in any game, quite frankly. The Tirpitz does get burned down from my 2 fires that I had set on him. The Iowa gets lit on fire again, up to 177,000 points of damage. Very good stuff. Our team has since captured Objective Charlie, and we've obviously held Alpha for the time being. The enemy has sent 2 of their cruisers into Bravo, and they are trying to flank around on our starboard side, or at least my starboard side, but I'm going to continue to harass these battleships. So 3 enemy battleships sent to the bottom over here. The majority of the damage done to them courtesy of this freaking beast. And I'm getting some long-range fire here at this enemy Yamato, who is at more or less full health. If that Yamato would have pushed over here with those other battleships, maybe it could have turned out differently. Who knows? But unfortunately, in today's day and age with this game, there is a lot of passive play here at the high tier with battleships. Unfortunately, those, even though 3 of them tried pushing our location at one time, the Udaloi said absolutely not. 183,000 points of damage, 682 to 127. We are capturing objective Bravo now. One of the cruisers behind me has been destroyed. It was the Des Moines, so there's only the Baltimore left. So I'm going to continue to close the distance to this Yamato and just keep peppering him with fire. And it's at this moment that the enemy Essex appears at about 17.5 kilometers away. So I'm going to continue to make my way towards the enemy carrier, and all the while continuing to shoot my shells down at the enemy Yamato. So just absolutely ridiculous amounts of damage. The fires, the floodings, this thing just stacks up damage so good. And obviously that's the niche really of Soviet destroyers and cruisers, quite frankly, is just to set fires, do a lot of damage, be that annoying guy that sticks at range that's really quick, and just absolutely obliterate the enemies that you're facing. And certainly this replay has been the epitome of that whatsoever, but we still have a little bit more to do. Putin manages to take out the Baltimore with his secondaries, very good stuff, as I light yet another fire number 11 of the game for me. And here's the other mistake of the game that I make. I did not catch the Yamato shooting. I take 2 shells right underneath the second turret. Luckily for me, I only take about 6,000 or so damage from him. So at this point, I'm going to use my last smoke of the game, and I'm going to shoot him here at this Essex. Now, on my Soviet destroyers, one thing I forgot to mention is I do not run Superintendent on these bad boys. Obviously, it's nice to have an extra speed boost and a smoke, but if you're using this ship, you're going to be spotted the majority of the time that you're shooting anyway, when actually you're going to be spotted every single time that you shoot without smoke. So I don't really feel the need for smoke is that big of a deal, or an extra speed boost. These ships go over at 40 knots. I think the Udaloi's top speed is like 42, 43, so it's not really that big of a deal. So that's why I decided to go with the 3x4 build, which clearly has been benefiting me in this game. 224,000 points of damage as I continue to shoot more shells down at the enemy Essex. I did light a fire on him. He does take a pretty massive hit. I'm going to shoot 2 more salvos down at him, and hopefully I'll be able to secure my second kill of the game. More shells flying down at the Essex. Will I get the kill? He's only at 1,300 health. Just barely not, unfortunately. Now I'm going to continue to shoot more here at the enemy Yamato as I set fire number 13. And I'm going to speed up here in front of my buddy in the Iowa and continue to pepper him. And this is Soviet DD, Udaloi, what you want to call it, gameplay 101. Just this right here. Obviously, it's been very beneficial to me to be able to shoot at these enemy battleships, but goodness, the amount of destruction is just fantastic. A little cinematic shot right here as I'm moving right in front of my buddies, Putin, and of course the Iowa right behind me, so very good stuff. I'm going to continue to shoot the enemy Yamato with armor piercing and with high explosive. He's giving me quite the nice broadside, and you're going to be able to see here, you can actually get some surprising amounts of damage with the armor piercing. 1,716 right there. More shells falling in. Hits right at the superstructure, do about 2,000 there. The next set of shells fall in, and there we go. 2,500 points of damage. Another set falls in, and look at that damage. 3,400. The armor piercing is no joke right there in the last 5 salvos, over 10k on that enemy Yamato. So I'm going to now switch back to high explosive because he's now slightly moving away. 251,000 points of damage. Right there with that last salvo, I met the old record for damages. I set my fire and now have moved into first place with that last salvo for damage, and I continue to shoot shell after shell after shell at the Yamato. That has to be one of the most annoying things in the game, getting absolutely taken care of by a Soviet destroyer, and there's nothing that you can do. My buddy, or no, not Putin, but the other currywurst manages to take out the Des Moines, so it's only the Yamato, and as my last salvos fall in, he gets destroyed by Putin. What a fantastic game in this destroyer. Alrighty guys, taking a look at the post-battle results screen. 565,000 credits received, about 5,500 total XP, obviously a Witherer and a high caliber. 267,367 damage, the new NA server record by about 15,000 points. 491 target hits with the guns and 2 torpedo hits. 1 ship destroyed, the tier 8 Tirpitz, 14 fire set, and 2 floodings caused with the torpedoes. Taking a look at the team score, 2,261 base XP. Not as high as I thought, but still a pretty solid result. My buddies Spider and Putin each picked up 2 kills of their own, with both of them having very respectable base XP amounts at 2,000 and 1,834 apiece. Taking a look at the detailed report, 110,000 points of damage done with the guns, and 131,000 done by fires and flooding, and of course about 25k done with the 2 torpedoes that landed home. So just an incredible amount of damage done, and my best game, not only in a destroyer damage-wise, but now my new record for any ship in the game, period. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this replay as much as I enjoyed playing the game. Please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, or of course, subscribing to our channel for awesome World of Warships content. With that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships, signing off. Have a great day.